When unpackaging your unit, it will look something like this. Lay your components out on the floor, and then we will begin, again, using the manual, follow through on our setup. Our first step in assembly is to lay out your base and the lower section or receiver tube for the rear column. That is going to attach to the back side of the base with these two clamps. What we want to do to begin with is loosen the two back screws and remove the front screw completely on the upper support, and do the same procedure on the low support. The next step is to mount the rear column receiver to the back of the unit. The release adjustment height knob and safety pin should be facing the left of the base, along with the rear or the caster wheels should be to the back of the column. We will place this in position, lift up the bottom split clamp, slide it over the column bar, align it. There are two actual cuts in this that help stabilize the actual column. We'll put that into place gently. We'll then first put the front screw in, and this doesn't have to be tightened down at this point yet. The next step is to do the same with the upper. Slide it over the column support, align it to the grooves in these black channels, and then tighten in place. It doesn't have to come all the way tight, just screw the screw in on the top. These are both loose now. What we want to do is tighten these up a little bit. When we tighten these, it is extremely important to note that this rear wheel should not be running on the floor. This rear wheel should be lifted up from the base, or the bottom clamp, and we need about 1 inch clearance from the floor. Then our next step is to securely tighten the bottom clamp only. These 3 screws, the 2 in the back and the 2 in the front, need to be snugged down. Again, use caution and not over tightening these, as you will damage this column, which will then prevent your upper section from going in. So you want to tighten these just snug, don't over tighten them. With the bottom clamp and its 3 screws, Allen head screws, now tightened, we have secured the lower section of the support bar to the base. If you'll note, on the back, we turn it around, we have about 1 inch clearance with the caster anti-tip wheel to the rear. There is a pin adjustment that we can pull out, and we can lower this down about 1 inch if needed to accommodate, still off the floor, but if someone is going to tip it back a bit, it does catch them before it goes back to any severe tilt. So again, we can line that up, put the pin back in, and secure that. Again, and we'll emphasize, make sure you have at least 1 inch clearance from the floor. Our next step is to repeat the tightening of the upper clamp, the same as we did the lower clamp. This one is free to shift on the upright because it's loose. What you'll notice on a profile is that this bar, as we lift it, will actually tilt the unit a little bit forward or back. So slight tilt is a good setup. Later on we will show you how to fine-tune the amount of tilt needed. So again, we will take, at this point, we have a slight tilt to the upright, and then we will tighten all 3 of the Allen screw heads. Again, being careful not to over-tighten so as not to damage the column. Our next step is to attach the upright column to the base. First, we'll lock the brakes. The receiver on the back side of the walkabout has a spring-loaded mechanism. This mechanism is what we use to change our height adjustment. The black T-knob is a secure lock for taking play out of the upright section and giving a little more security to our locking mechanism. So what you want to do is lift the upper column, and the stainless component that has a series of holes, we want to align it to the receiver, set it in gently a bit, pull the pull ring, which will allow you to drop the unit down into a desired height. Once we have a desired height, this knob will allow you a little more security. Tighten that. It also takes a little bit of the play out of the upright column. Your walkabout will also come with a wrench kit. It will be in a small fabric bag that's hanging to the back side of your upright column. Depending on which size unit you have, there will be 2 or 3 wrenches included in the pouch. Our next step in assembly is to adjust the thoracic ring. The thoracic ring will come packaged in a down position for packaging. What we want to do is go to the back of the unit, and at this point right here there will be 4 Allen head screws. What we will do is loosen all 4 of those screws and then lift the ring so that it is extending out, possibly up at a little bit of an angle. Then go back to the back side of the thoracic ring and again tighten all 4 of the Allen screws. Our next assembly is the headrest. The headrest goes into a receiver at the top of the front column. There are 2 Allen screws. You want to loosen those, split the split clamp apart. That will allow you enough room to set the hex upright bar into place, adjust the height at a desired height, and then tighten the 2 Allen head screws to the back side. Our next assembly is to assemble onto the upright column the set bar or tapered seat, whichever you've selected, this being the round set bar, which will go on. This is the tapered seat. Both will go on by loosening the knob on the back, and the extruded channel that runs on the back side of the front column, you want to align that up and slide to your desired height, then tighten the wing nut to the back side firmly. The set bar, the pelvic support, and the thoracic support assist lifting the child into standing. The amount of lift is controlled by the degree of spring tension. To adjust the spring tension to make the spring tighter or looser, there is an activating silver cap on top. You compress the spring-loaded cap in and then pull up or down on the column. This will lock it into several different notches. The farther down, the stiffer the spring is, the more you lift and lock, the easier the spring will rise. So again, push in on the silver tab and then move up or down the inner column. To fine-tune this adjustment, we have a small crank located on the top of the rear upper column, and it'll travel in and out here. So if your tension has been adjusted at this point and you would like something in between, or to fine-tune the adjustment of the amount of lift, either crank clockwise or counterclockwise, this will raise or lower the whole system up or down, and again will fine-tune the adjustment of the tension in the spring.
A principal feature on the 3 and the 4 is the substitution of an air spring for the coil springs. They say, well, there is a coil spring here, but that's only for overload. This is the air shock, air spring, that can be dampened, and you can change the pressure in it to change the force. So to change the force for weight relief for a client, you don't need to compress it further than what it is. You only need to pump up the pressure in it so that it has a higher spring rate. To change the pressure, there's a valve cap on the top of it, and there's a pump, air pump, and you just attach that and then pump it to the desired pressure. So that will increase the force on it. Additionally, it's adjustable damping, and there's a red knob here, and if you turn this clockwise, it slows up the rebound. And if you go to the full extent, the rebound is very slow. So depending on the activity level of your client, you may want to adjust that. Now you can see this does not, this engages the overload spring, and if you want to change where that engages, you just raise this tube up. So now really come down in the overload position. If it goes beyond the stroke of this, it will take it up in the